actions. You're using dialogue and remembering what people said or what you heard. And you describe what you saw or what you smelled or what you tasted or what you felt. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about how you can describe the images around you. So one thing that writers do when they tell their story is they bring their reader into the setting of the story. And I sometimes feel like some of your stories, I don't really know where you are. And so I think it's really important that we think about how, when you're writing a story, you're like taking your reader by the hand and taking them with you. And so I was reading in another class, I was reading this kid's story, and he was telling me about it, and he was doing really great bit-by-bit action. He was like, it was about him and his sister fighting. So he's like, and then we took the squishy toy, and I pinged it at her stomach, and she was like, ah! And she dove for the pingy toy, and she grabbed it, and she threw it back at me. Right? Bit-by-bit action, it was really good. And when he finished telling me about this little scene, I said, so where are you in this story? Like, I didn't, and he, oh, and then he said, and then she fell against the TV, and the TV stereo system fell on the floor. And I was like, oh, so you were in your living room? He goes, no, not in my living room. I said, oh, well, where are you? He's like, well, I was in my like, he was in his basement where they have like a rec room. But I said, well, you never brought me down there. So I didn't really know where he was in his story. So one thing that a storyteller does is try to bring your character with you on your adventure. So you're in your story, you're starting in your house, and then I want to see you take me outside with you. You're doing really great work with bit-by-bit action, so now we need to go back and find a spot where we could maybe add some setting so that your reader can be with you. Okay? So this book, Saturday with Tea Cakes, is a really good example of how he puts setting into his story. And I just copied one page for you. So if you can quickly just pass that out, we'll read it together. Let me have one first. And then take one, maybe one per partnership. I don't think you need your own unless you want it as a sample. Okay? But I always have the book here, so we can always just look in the book. And let's look at how this writer, Lester Laminack, puts setting into his story. Okay, now I've read this book before, so we're not going to read the whole thing. We're just going to read the part where I found that where he brings us into different parts of the story, okay? Everyone have one? Okay. Every Saturday, everyone's good?
Oh wait, do we share one?
Yeah, you can share one. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so it says, every Saturday, Mama called out, come on into this house. Let's have us a bite to eat. In Mama's big kitchen, sunlight poured through the windows like a waterfall and spilled over the countertops, pooling up on the checkerboard floor. Every Saturday, she had hot biscuits, sweet butter, and Golden Eagle syrup waiting on the kitchen table. Every Saturday, she poured a little coffee into my cup and filled the rest with milk and 2 spoonfuls of sugar. Then, before long, Mama said, we'd best clear these dishes away and get into that yard before it gets too hot. I followed her out the back porch. Let me put a little water on these ferns, she said. You go on ahead to the car house. That's what Mama called the garage. I'll be out directly. So do you see in this little excerpt, let's see what this writer does to bring us into the setting. Do you notice words that he uses to bring us into different places? Like they start in the kitchen, and then they're going outside. Why don't you turn and talk to your partner and find the spots where he does that, and then we can share. Turn and talk to your partner and see if you can find that. What? Mama, that's what he called his grandma. That's just good language that he uses. All right, so where's your spot? So where in this story do you see that the writer is describing the setting? How does he do it to bring you into the setting? Can you find the spots in there? You can underline with the pencil so you can talk together. You guys finding the spots where there's like setting changes? Right, putting those away, and then how does she bring us into the next setting? Like, how do they get from the kitchen to the backyard? What does she say there? I followed her back out to the back porch. Good. So it's not a lot. It's just a little phrase that kind of brings your reader to the next spot in your story. Okay, because sometimes I don't know, you move scenes and I don't know where you moved, how you got there, right? Like,
I went outside, like she
right.
watched music, I followed her back to the beach.
Okay, All right, let's talk together for 1 minute, and then I can send you off to go writing today, so we have plenty of time for writing. What did you notice about how Lester Laminack moves us through place to place in the story? Like what kind of language, what phrases did you see in there that helps us see that the characters are moving through the story? Delilah, what did you guys talk about?
I found it said I followed her back to the porch, and then it, like she's saying we best clear these dishes away, so
Okay.
we can see her like pushing away the dishes and walking out to the back.
Right, we best clear these dishes away, and you can imagine her going and doing that, and then the writer wants to take you back out to the backyard, so he says, I followed her out the back porch. It's just a little sentence that kind of takes your reader by the hand, and you're kind of like saying to your reader, come out this way, I'm going to show you what happens out here. Because you're really strong at getting your reader to see bit by bit of your story, but sometimes you forget to take me into the next part of your story. And it's not everybody, okay, but there was enough people that I thought we should talk about it a little bit today. So that's how Lester Laminack, and then he says, in Mama's big kitchen. He puts us in the kitchen, okay? He puts us right there in the kitchen. And then he even describes a little bit more. Sunlight poured through the windows like a waterfall and spilled over the countertops, pooling on the checkerboard floor. So one thing that he does there is he puts us in the kitchen, and we can kind of see that the kitchen has big windows, and the sunlight comes in through those windows. Just a little bit of description of where they are in their story. So that when you when I come to read your story, it's almost like you're taking me by the hand, and you're saying, come to the back, come find my dog with me out in the back, right? Then we went to the backyard, and I searched everywhere, right? Because your dog is lost, and so you need to take me where you went to find your dog, okay? So I think maybe you can work on that a little bit. So you're at the part of your writing where everyone's doing like a little bit different. Some people are still working on their heart. Some people are working on their ending. Some people are working on bringing out the internal story. Some people will now work on the bit by bit, but describing the images around the storyteller. So you're the storyteller. You're the character in your story. Kind of describe and put me in the place. Where are you in the story? It might be just adding a phrase or a couple of words or one sentence. It might not be adding a lot of details. Just help me, bring me into it. If you're in the living room, bring me in there. Okay? All right. Is that good for today? You guys know what you're doing for your writing? I'm coming around to conference with you. So don't forget, good storytellers also describe the images around them. Okay? And they take me through the setting of their story so I know exactly where you are. And I don't have to go, so what happened? Where are you? Are you outside? Are you inside? Where are you? Okay? All right. So let's go, and you can take this sheet as an example, or you can just leave it in a pile up here, and if you need one, you can come back and get it. You see how Lester Laminack does that? But quietly go off to your seats, and let's get started writing. I'm coming around to talk to some people about this writing.